Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to dive into something that touches the very core of achievement, something that separates those who dream from those who build, those who wish from those who achieve. We live in a world where talent is celebrated, where brilliance is admired, and where ideas are praised. But the truth is, talent alone does not create extraordinary results. It's hard work, the kind that pushes past doubt, that perseveres when progress feels invisible, that embraces failure as feedback, that shapes true success. In the next few minutes, I want you to challenge the stories you tell yourself about your limits, your potential, and what it takes to win. This isn't about luck. It isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about showing up, iterating, solving problems, and building momentum so that opportunities no longer find you by chance. They find you because you've earned them. So, if you've ever wondered why some people seem unstoppable while others plateau, this is the moment to pay attention. By the end of this talk, you'll see that hard work isn't just effort. It's a force multiplier, a game changer, and the true secret behind extraordinary outcomes. Let's get started. Hard work outperforms talent because talent alone is passive. It sits there like unused potential energy, doing absolutely nothing until effort activates it. People often assume those who rise to the top must have been born with extraordinary gifts. But what they don't see is the relentless force behind their success, consistency, discipline, and the willingness to show up when it's boring, painful, or inconvenient. Hard work is the mechanism that turns potential into progress and progress into mastery. You can be the most gifted person in the room, but if you're not willing to put in the hours, the repetitions, and the trial and error cycles, someone with half your natural ability will pass you by simply because they kept moving when you didn't. This isn't motivational fluff. It's the physics of achievement. Effort compounds like interest. Every hour invested becomes a foundation for the next hour, and every iteration builds a small advantage that slowly turns into a massive gap. People misunderstand the nature of talent. They treat it like a guarantee, but it's more like an opportunity. It gives you a starting point, but it doesn't determine the ending. Hard work, on the other hand, isn't just an advantage, it's a multiplier. It enhances whatever talent you have. And even if you start with a very small amount, consistent effort can raise your capabilities beyond what most people think is possible. Natural ability might give you an early lead, but hard work determines who finishes the race. That's why you'll often find people with average beginnings accomplishing extraordinary things. They simply refuse to stop. They keep learning, keep testing, keep improving. They grind through setbacks that discourage others. They gain experience that can't be taught in books or in classrooms. Over time, this repeated cycle of work creates depth, deep understanding, deep skill, deep resilience. Talent can spark curiosity, but only effort builds mastery. There is also a psychological element. When you rely on talent alone, failure feels like a threat to your identity. You start protecting your ego instead of pushing your limits, because if talent defines you, then mistakes feel like proof you're not as gifted as people think. But hardworking people don't attach their identity to being perfect. They attach it to being persistent. Failure becomes data. Setbacks become adjustments. They don't crumble under criticism because they're used to iterating. They expect obstacles. They operate with a mindset that nothing is guaranteed and everything is earned. Ironically, this makes them far more adaptable and ultimately far more successful. Another overlooked reason hard work outperforms talent is that effort builds trust, both within yourself and from others. When you consistently show up and put in the hours, You build a reputation for reliability. People want to support, invest in, and collaborate with someone who works relentlessly toward a goal. Talent doesn't inspire confidence unless it's backed by effort. But when effort is visible, people take notice, opportunities appear, mentors gravitate toward you, teams want you. Hard work creates momentum that others want to ride with. And perhaps the most important point, hard work builds capacity. And it transforms you into someone who can handle more, understand more, and achieve more. You become more capable, not because you were gifted something, but because you built yourself. The habits you develop, the discipline you strengthen, and the endurance you grow become assets that talent alone can't replicate. Talent may open the door, but hard work is what keeps it open. And if you don't have the talent, hard work can build the key from scratch. That's why, in the long run, effort outperforms talent. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, but it is dependable, predictable, and unstoppable. Talent may set the ceiling of where you start, but hard work determines the floor of where you end up. And for most people, that floor is far higher than they ever imagined. The gap between knowing and doing is where almost all progress is either created or lost. People generally know far more than they act on. They know they should start the project, send the email, learn the skill, practice the craft, take the risk, or fix the mistake. But they don't. They wait for the right moment. They wait to feel ready. They wait for motivation, or clarity, or permission. And in that waiting, days become weeks, and weeks become years. The truth is that information is abundant, but action is scarce. You don't rise on what you know, you rise on what you apply. This gap is the silent barrier that separates those who grow from those who stay exactly where they are. It's why two people with the same knowledge, same resources, and same opportunities can end up with completely different outcomes. One simply crossed the gap, the other didn't. The mind loves the idea of progress, but it resists the discomfort of execution. Knowing is comfortable, doing is vulnerable. Doing requires risk, exposure, and the possibility of failure. So people stay in the knowing zone because it feels safe, but it's an illusion of safety because without action, nothing changes. The difference between intention and action is also the difference between dreaming and building. Many people have ideas, visions, and plans. They talk about what they want to achieve, what they hope to become, the goals they want to pursue. But none of it becomes real until movement begins. Every meaningful achievement in history started with an imperfect first step, never with a perfect plan. People often assume that the ones who succeed must have had a flawless strategy or an extraordinary set of skills. Usually, they had neither. They simply refused to stay stuck in the knowing stage. They acted even if the action was small, messy, or uncertain. And with each action, the path got clearer. The act of doing creates clarity that thinking alone cannot produce. Something happens when you engage physically with a goal. Your brain starts reorganizing itself around the pursuit. Problems reveal themselves, solutions emerge, and your sense of capability grows. None of this happens while sitting on the sidelines. Another reason the knowing-doing gap is so powerful is that action generates momentum. Knowledge is static, but effort is kinetic. Once you take a step, any step, you create a kind of psychological and emotional movement that makes the next step easier. This is why starting is the hardest part. People overestimate the difficulty of beginning and underestimate the power of momentum after they begin. With each action, your confidence grows. You begin trusting yourself more. You prove through action that you are capable of doing what you said you would do. This builds identity, and identity drives behavior far more strongly than motivation ever will. When you see yourself as someone who takes action, you continue taking action. The gap closes. It's also important to understand that the world rewards execution, not knowledge. Knowing how to build something doesn't build it. Knowing how to fix something doesn't fix it. The value is created through actual work, not the awareness of what needs to be done. Hard work bridges the knowing-doing gap because it forces you to show up, make choices, and push through the discomfort that others avoid. It transforms vague ideas into concrete results. You can study for years, gather endless information, analyze every angle, but if you never move, the value of that knowledge is zero. Meanwhile, someone else with less knowledge, but more willingness to act will surpass you simply because they stepped into the arena. In the end, the gap never closes on its own. It closes only through movement. You don't need more knowledge. You need more action. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a starting point. Every step you take shrinks the space between who you are and who you want to be. And that's why hard work, consistent, imperfect, courageous action is what turns knowing into achieving. The world rewards problem solvers because progress depends on the people who are willing to confront reality instead of avoiding it. Most people instinctively move away from problems. They see difficulty and retreat, hoping someone else will handle it. But the individuals who move toward the problem, who examine it, break it down, and push through the frustration, are the ones who create value. Hard work matters here because solving meaningful problems requires immersion. You have to spend long hours understanding the intricacies, the patterns, the failures, and the hidden details that most people never bother noticing. When you stay with a problem long enough, it begins to reveal its structure. You start to see what others have overlooked. You develop an understanding that can't be gained through quick research or surface level thinking. Hard work gives you the depth necessary to unlock solutions. People often romanticize problem solving as a burst of inspiration, some sudden moment where everything makes sense. But those moments only happen to the people who grind through the boring, repetitive, mentally exhausting parts first. Hard work is what gets you to the point where inspiration is even possible. If you look at any major innovation, breakthrough, or invention, the story behind it is rarely glamorous. It's usually years of trial and error, prototypes that failed, ideas that sounded promising but went nowhere, and countless hours spent staring at something that didn't work. The world rewards the result, but behind the result is someone who refused to walk away when progress felt impossible. That refusal, the willingness to keep working, is the difference between a problem that stays a problem and a problem that becomes a breakthrough. Another reason hard work matters in problem solving is that most problems aren't technical at first. They're emotional. People give up because the problem frustrates them, overwhelms them, or feels too big. Hard workers push past that emotional barrier. They don't let discomfort dictate their direction. They understand that frustration is not a sign to stop. It's a signal that you are at the frontier of your understanding. They stay in that zone long enough for complexity to become clarity. This emotional endurance is what separates shallow attempts from meaningful breakthroughs. When you push through discomfort repeatedly, you build resilience, and that resilience becomes a competitive advantage. You can handle more, tackle more, and persist longer than others. The world needs people who don't run from difficulty. So it rewards those who push through it. The other important part is that problem solvers make themselves indispensable. In any field, engineering, business, design, science, leadership, the person who can identify the real problem and fix it becomes the backbone of progress. You don't need titles, credentials, or endorsements to become valuable. You need the ability to solve something that others can't. Hard work is what allows you to gain enough mastery to provide that value. When you immerse yourself deeply, you develop a kind of intuition for your craft. You can see connections others miss. You predict failures before they happen. You make decisions faster and with greater accuracy. These skills aren't gifts, they're built. Slowly, repetitively, through effort. And the world pays attention to people who solve real problems, opportunities, partnerships, investments, and respect follow the people who consistently produce solutions. Even competitors respect someone who can make progress where others are stuck. Hard workers accumulate this respect because they stay with a challenge long enough to produce results that actually move things forward. Talent alone can identify a problem. Hard work is what solves it. The marketplace, society, and even individuals reward outcomes, not intentions, not potential, not talk. They reward the result, and results come from work. In the end, the world doesn't reward the person who avoids problems, and it doesn't reward the person who notices problems. It rewards the person who solves them. Hard work gives you the depth, resilience, understanding, and persistence to do what most people won't. And that's why hard work makes you valuable, because value comes from solving what others consider impossible, inconvenient, or too difficult to touch. Long hours give you more iterations, and more iterations give you better outcomes, because progress is ultimately a numbers game. Every attempt is a data point. Every failure teaches you something, and every repetition sharpens your instincts. Most people dramatically underestimate how powerful iteration is. They think success comes from a single smart idea or one perfectly executed plan, but that's almost never the case. Real progress happens through repeated cycles of trying, adjusting, improving, and trying again. When you put in more hours, you're not just working longer, you're accelerating the rate at which these cycles occur. That means you learn faster, adapt faster, and reach solutions faster. In any competitive environment, the person who iterates the most wins because they collect more information and refine their approach more deeply than anyone else. Iteration exposes truth. The more you test an idea, the more you discover what actually works rather than what you hope might work. People who avoid repeated attempts often live in their assumptions. They think they know what will happen, but they haven't tested it enough to confirm their theories. Long hours eliminate illusions because reality shows itself through repetition. After dozens or hundreds of attempts, patterns appear. You begin to see what causes failure, what consistently leads to progress, and where the hidden leverage points are. This insight cannot be gained from theorizing or planning alone. It emerges from the friction of trying. Hard work gives you the raw volume of attempts needed to uncover these insights. But iteration isn't just about solving external problems. It also rewires your mind. Every time you try something, your brain adjusts. It builds new connections, strengthens old ones, and becomes better at recognizing nuance. Long hours give your brain more exposure to real world feedback, and that feedback becomes the foundation for skill. People often admire those who seem to have instincts about their field, as if it's a magical ability. But instincts are simply the result of countless iterations. After working through enough attempts, your mind develops a library of patterns. You can anticipate outcomes before they happen because you've seen variations of them so many times. This predictive ability is one of the most powerful advantages a person can have, and it comes almost entirely from repetition. Another important factor is that iteration risks failure. When you only attempt something a few times, failure feels overwhelming. It feels personal, but when you attempt something few times, 100 times, or 1,000 times, failure becomes normalized. It becomes information instead of intimidation. You stop seeing it as a setback and start seeing it as a step. Long hours create this shift because they force you to move past the emotional sting and into the mechanical process of improvement. You become less afraid to try, which means you try more, which means you learn more. And over time, this cycle gives you a level of resilience that people who avoid repeated effort never develop. More iterations also create momentum. When you work long enough on something, the progress begins to compound. Small improvements stack on top of each other, and they create a breakthrough that looks sudden from the outside, but is actually the result of hundreds of invisible steps. Most breakthroughs are not big leaps. They are the final click of a series of tiny adjustments. Long hours give you the time required for those adjustments to accumulate. Without consistent iteration, you never reach the point where the pieces finally come together. Ultimately, iteration rewards the person who stays in the game long enough to gather enough data, sharpen enough skills, and refine enough approaches to reach mastery. Hard work isn't just about time, it's about the sheer number of attempts that time allows. You can't shortcut experience. You can't shortcut pattern recognition. You can't shortcut resilience. You earn these things through hours spent iterating while others stop early. And that's why more iterations lead to better outcomes, because progress is built brick by brick, attempt by attempt, in the hours most people are unwilling to invest. Momentum is one of the most underestimated forces in achievement, and hard work is what creates it. At first, everything feels slow. You put in the effort, but progress seems invisible, almost non-existent. You question whether the work is making any difference at all. This early stage is where most people quit. Not because the goal is impossible, but because the lack of immediate results convinces them nothing is happening. But the truth is that momentum begins long before you can see it. It's building quietly beneath the surface, forming the foundation for what will eventually become rapid progress. Hard work fuels this invisible phase. Every hour spent, every repetition, every small adjustment is like pushing a heavy flywheel. At first, it barely moves. Then it moves a little, then a little more. Eventually, it begins to turn on its own, gathering speed. The people who stay committed long enough to reach this phase are the ones to experience what looks like effortless success. But it isn't effortless. It's accumulated effort finally paying off. Momentum has a psychological effect as well. Once you begin to see small wins, even tiny ones, your mind shifts, you feel more capable, you start trusting your ability to execute. This self-trust is incredibly powerful because it reduces friction. Every time you start over, you have to overcome the weight of doubt, fear, and hesitation. But when you've built momentum, starting becomes easier. The process becomes familiar. You don't have to wrestle with the same mental resistance because your brain has learned that progress follows effort. This means you begin to work not from a place of pressure, but from a place of flow. You no longer question whether the work matters. You know it does. That belief accelerates everything. Momentum also compounds progress. Once you're consistently investing effort, the improvements stack. You build skills faster, solve problems faster, and recover from setbacks faster because the engine is already running. What used to take hours now takes minutes. What used to feel overwhelming now feels manageable. This is the stage where people begin to look gifted from the outside, even though nothing magical happened. They simply stayed with the process long enough for the compounding effect of momentum to kick in. It's the same reason athletes musicians, and engineers all experience exponential growth instead of linear growth. The foundation laid during long, often unglamorous hours creates the conditions for rapid advancement later. Momentum also protects you during difficult phases. Life is unpredictable. There will always be setbacks, failures, stress, and unexpected problems. When you have no momentum, these challenges feel like walls you cannot climb. But when momentum is strong, challenges become speed bumps instead of barriers. You have forward motion carrying you through the rough patches. You don't lose everything with one setback because your engine is still running. Hard work beforehand gives you the runway to absorb difficulty without collapsing. It's a buffer built from past effort. Another key element of momentum is that it attracts opportunity. When you are consistently working towards something, people notice. They see your consistency, your growth, your progress. Opportunities tend to appear in motion, not in stagnation. You meet people, you gain visibility, you create value. Most breakthroughs, new partnerships, unexpected connections, changing ideas, arrive when you're already moving, not when you're waiting. Momentum turns you into someone others want to work with because they can see that you're going somewhere. In the end, momentum is not a gift you receive. It's something you earn. It begins with slow, often frustrating effort. It grows through repetition. It strengthens through resilience. And once it takes hold, it can carry you further than talent, luck, or perfect timing ever could. Hard work is the force that pushes the flywheel inch by inch until it spins with a power of its own. And when it does, you become unstoppable. Not because you're extraordinary, but because you didn't stop when the work felt invisible. Hard work creates luck because luck is rarely a random event. It's the outcome of repeated actions that increase the probability of good things happening. People often talk about luck as if it falls from the sky onto a chosen few, but in reality, luck tends to show up where effort has been consistently invested. When you work hard, you put yourself in more situations, take more shots, and expose yourself to more opportunities. Each attempt, like buying a ticket in the lottery of progress. One person may wait for a lucky break, while another person creates dozens of chances through effort. Over time, the person who keeps trying simply has more interactions with the world, and more interactions increase the odds that something positive will happen. Whether it's meeting the right person, discovering an unexpected solution, being noticed for your consistency, or stumbling into a breakthrough, these moments come far more often to the person who stays engaged. Hard work also expands your capability, and expanded capability naturally attracts opportunities. People gravitate toward individuals who are dedicated, reliable, and persistent. They notice effort. They notice improvement. When you repeatedly show that you're willing to put in the work, others begin to trust you with responsibilities or opportunities they wouldn't entrust to someone passive. That trust often looks like luck from the outside. Someone might say you were lucky to be given a chance, but they don't see the hours you invested in building skill, reputation, and resilience. They don't see the work that made you the kind of person others want to bet on. Hard work creates luck by making you visible and valuable to the people around you. Another way hard work generates luck is through the sheer volume of feedback it produces. Each attempt, successful or not, gives you information. That information improves your decision-making. Over time, you begin to recognize patterns that others miss. This refined judgment often leads to choices that seem like lucky guesses to outsiders, but they're not guesses at all. They are the result of accumulated knowledge gained through effort. People who don't work hard often lack this insight. and therefore label someone's good decisions as luck simply because they don't understand the pattern behind those decisions. The more you work, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more accurately you can act. This accuracy masquerades as luck, but it's really the product of countless iterations. Hard work also keeps you in motion long enough for coincidence to intersect with preparation. Many lucky breaks come from simply being in the right place at the right time. But you can't be in the right place if you're not moving. When you're consistently working toward a goal, you place yourself in environments where opportunities circulate, events, projects, conversations, communities, challenges. People who don't do the work rarely enter these spaces, which means they rarely encounter the chance events that lead to breakthroughs. Movement increases exposure, and exposure increases luck. There's also a psychological component. People who work hard are more likely to act on opportunities when they appear. They have momentum, confidence, and a habit of taking action. Meanwhile, someone who has been stagnant may hesitate or let the opportunity slip. Luck favors the person who is ready to grab it, and readiness is built through effort. Hard work sharpens your reflexes and makes you alert to openings that others overlook. In the long run, what we call luck is often the intersection of preparation, persistence, and timing. You don't control timing, but you control preparation and persistence. Hard work ensures that when the moment arrives, expected or unexpected, you're not just in the room, but you're capable of taking advantage of it. That's why hard work creates luck. It builds the foundation, the momentum, the resilience, and the awareness that turn random opportunities into defining moments. Luck becomes less something you hope for and more something you generate through consistent action.